Hi, I'm Dan Leonard in the East.
And I'm George Whittam in the West.
And together we are East-West Audio Body Shop. Well, George, it's been a while, 2 weeks or so. I've missed you.
Me too. I've missed you too, Dan.
All right. Well, we'll be back live this week together as we continue looking at peer-to-peer networks that many of us are members of. And our guest this week is Jennifer Smith from Voices.com. We've got a lot of questions for her on what Voices.com has in store for us in the future and how to make the most out of your membership there.
It's P2P month around here. I'll talk about noise floor fixes for audiobooks. What's the big deal with noise floor? Everybody, all the publishers say, make sure there's noise floor. Well, I'll give you the truth to what that really means and how you can work around not the best noise floor issues and fix it all so nobody knows what you did.
And at my tip of the week, we're going to talk about mic technique, something that people really need to understand.
It's something we glaze on all the time, but we'll pinpoint it this week. We also have your questions that you sent in to our ewabshop@gmail.com and tech news of the week, things I think you guys should know about.
All right. That's East-West Audio Body Shop, live this Sunday night, 9 p.m. in the East.
And 6 o'clock in the West.
Look for us at ewabs.com, and we'll see you there.
He's the home voiceover studio engineer to the stars in Los Angeles, California. A Virginia Tech grad whose knowledge of the latest recording gear is second to none. He's a voice actor and the home studio master, hailing from Buffalo, New York. His home studio skills and knowledge of voiceover recording is unmatched. When Dan and George talk shop, people listen, and the talk continues tonight. Welcome to East-West Audio Body Shop. And now, live from his high-tech facility in Santa Monica and his penthouse studio in Buffalo, here are George Whittam and Dan Leonard.
Good evening, world. I'm Dan Leonard in the East.
And I'm George Whittam in the West.
And together we are East-West Audio Body Shop. All right.
The new intro looked good, man.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's been months and months in the works.
I mean, we shot most of the footage for that back last June, and we figured we'd save it for the new year. But the thing that really kept it from happening was it hadn't snowed here.
Right.
So when we got a foot of snow a couple weeks ago, it was like, yay, I can finally shoot that piece.
Exactly. You need that last bit of authenticity.
Absolutely.
To really pull it off.
Yeah, and it worked. And our thanks, of course, to Dave Corvo for voicing that for us continuously every week here on East-West Audio Body Shop. And guess what? It's episode 80.
It's incredible. And would you believe he does that every week live? It's
yeah, I
really
know.
Amazing that he.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, it's really nice of him to do that. Just like the Love Boat in the 70s, they did it all live.
Right. They didn't do it live. Barney Anderson didn't do that. Ernie Anderson didn't do it live. The Love Boat.
No, that stuff in the 70s. That was the other guy, not Ernie Anderson. No, Ernie Anderson.
Yeah,
he did it live. They literally did that live. Like he sat in the studio all day. No. They literally did it live.
Wow.
That was my understanding. That's why he hated being in that booth by himself all day long, with everybody talking behind his back. And that's why he wanted to be in the control room and have a microphone in the control room instead of in the booth. And henceforth, the 416 is now the Hollywood microphone. And there you go.
Because of Ernie Anderson.
All because of him.
Yes. Cougar. I mean, he was a lot like LaFontaine, though. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you'll notice that George and I just decided we're going to start playing merry-go-round with microphones here.
Yeah.
I've got an Electro Voice 666. This thing's got to be 50, 60 years old. You could never tell, though, could you?
No. I mean, it's sounding great tonight.
Yeah, these are dynamic mics, and dynamic mics are used for broadcasting because you can get away with it in broadcasting. And you have to be a little bit closer with the dynamic mic. But 1 week we're going to do ribbon mics. I mean, Franken mic is a ribbon mic.
Yeah.
I haven't used him for a while, mostly because of some mounting problems we've been having with him. We won't get into that, but I think I finally solved that one. But we'll start using some ribbon mics, and we'll use condenser mics, and we'll show you the difference of these mics and why it's important to understand the difference and how to use them properly.
And that's your topic today too, actually, by the way, isn't it? Your
well,
tip of the week.
We're going to talk about mic technique.
Okay.
Mic technique.
Good.
But our special guest tonight is the one and only Jennifer Smith. And you're going, who's Jennifer Smith? She's the customer relations specialist at voices.com. And she knows everything there is to know about voices.com, including how many kids Stephanie has. Which seems to be constantly growing if you know Stephanie Cicerelli at all.
She's like 5 feet nothing.
I know.
I mean,
she's
how
got
does she
what,
do
like
it?
five, 6 kids.
She's
it's
tiny.
Pretty amazing. Anyway, she'll be joining us in about 25, 30 minutes. And so if you have questions for her, she's probably in the chat room going, all right, how many kids does Stephanie have? 1, 2, 3, 4. Your audio is getting a little choppy there, George.
Is it?
Yeah,
I don't know why.
Skype.
It sounds, you mean like, is it Cyloning, that kind of thing?
Sort of. Sounds like it's starting to Cylon a little bit.
Okay. Well, you sound fantastic. And right now, that's all that matters.
But of course.
So if we get to when we get to the break, I'll reset it unless it gets really bad. And then we'll reset it.
Right. So anyway, but she'll be on a little bit. So if you have questions for her about voices.com, type them in the chat room. And our wonderful producer, Catherine, if she's hiding in there somewhere, will be compiling those for us. And then we'll be able to ask Jennifer herself, and she can tell us the answers. And you're going to talk about something tonight. I think this is important. I remember we spent almost a month on audiobooks.
Yeah, we did.
But we really didn't talk a whole lot about audiobook audio.
Right.
Big stuff. So you're on.
All right. Well, yes, when it comes to audiobook audio, there's still, I think, a lot of questions that are being left unanswered by, the production companies and the publishers. Some of them are very, very, selective about what they want to hear. Others seem to allow a little bit more leeway in regards to production quality and noise floor and stuff. But what seems to be a difficult thing to really grasp is do you need noise floor? And if you do, how much? And is there a way to kind of cheat a little bit? And I think I found a pretty cool technique for cheating with noise floor and room tone. So what do I mean by cheating? Basically, they tend to want to hear they want to hear room tone. So they don't want to hear a silence, that telltale sign of like a gate when the audio cuts out in the middle, or not cuts out completely, but when you stop speaking, the audio background or the room tone drops to minus infinity or total silence. They don't like that. They don't like it for a couple of reasons. It feels weird when you're listening to it in earphones, when you're listening to it in something really intimate, an intimate listening environment like earbuds or headphones. Say, for example, laying in bed at night or something where it's really obvious when you stop speaking and there's a total loss of background noise. That just doesn't feel and sound quite natural. It sounds very odd. So they're really careful about the way you handle that. Well, one reason we spend a ridiculous amount of time on the post end of doing audiobooks is because we have to clean up all of the miscellaneous noises and extraneous sounds that are between each phrase or each sentence. And so the typical technique for doing that is by copy and pasting room tone. And that can work really well. And if you're using something like Audition or Twisted Wave, I know for a fact, because of personal experience with Twisted Wave, you can save these things called clips at different intervals. You could have a ½ second of room tone, 3.5 seconds, 2.5 seconds, have them all stored up. And wherever you need to put one, you just paste in a clip and boom, there's the room tone at the right length. But that can be a little bit tedious as well. So I found a new technique I think that works pretty well. Now it really matters how you use your breath control. Okay, so if you tend to take a lot of gasping, sucking breaths often, like that, then this technique may not work quite as well for you, but it still could be helpful. It still could be a time saver. But what I'm trying to explain is using a noise gate can actually be acceptable if when it's all said and done, there is still room tone at the end. There's still room tone in those spaces that you created by using, say, a noise gate or any other kind of silencing tool or whatever you're using to take out the breaths and the mouth noises and all that stuff. So what I figured out was, if you say, like, for example, you do use a noise gate, now you're going to have this, probably very clean sounding audio, but no room tone. So let's put the room tone back. And here's another little tip. It doesn't necessarily have to be your room tone or your authentic room tone. It could be room tone from anywhere. Right, Dan?
Absolutely.
Why you're like choking back a crazy laugh? I just noticed it.
No, I'm fine.
You're probably thinking I'm full of something.
No, you're going along. You're explaining it extremely well.
Okay, good.
But there's beer conversation going on.
Okay. So the room tone, you can use other room tone, or you could record room tone at the optimal moment in the day. Let's say the middle of the night or first thing in the morning when it's totally quiet. So that way you've got the perfect room tone that you can then use later on to paste back in. Well, that's another thing. Pasting back in, like we said, it's tedious, right? You got to put it in every little hole. You got to paste in sections at the right length. Extremely time consuming. Well, you don't necessarily have to do pasting of room tone. You actually can take that perfect room tone, wherever you source it from, and you can mix it over the entire, like, say, length of the chapter. So let's say you have a 10-minute long chapter. You need 10 minutes of room tone. So you're going to have to take that room tone and loop it. However you're going to do that. Usually you have to do it manually in most editors, which means copy, paste, copy, paste, double, 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 double until the thing gets long enough. Then you can get a section of room tone that matches the length of the chapter, copy, and do what we call a mix paste, and have that audio of the room tone mixed into the recording. And whatever software you're using, like a Twisted Wave, you have to do mix paste. It's not a multi-track software like Audition or Pro Tools is. But if you're doing this in Pro Tools, it's still going to be a really tedious process, because guess what? In Pro Tools, you have to, if you're going to use more than 2 tracks, you're going to have to mix and bounce later. Oh man, I mean, talk about tedious.
They want you to do it. They want you to do a screen share. Maybe let me try and see if I can pull it up and I can show that.
Oh, you show what I'm talking about with this copy paste thing?
Right.
Okay.
Well, we're with and then putting the the room tone track underneath.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, you try to make that happen while I keep blabbing.
Okay.
So what I'm talking about is you have a track of room tone, and you know what, you like to have some nice room tone that, has a noise floor of maybe minus 50, 55, something like that, something nice and low. You may have even taken your room tone and done something to spruce it up a bit, like maybe use a high pass filter, because maybe your room tone has quite a bit of hum in it. Maybe it's got a bit of a low frequency rumble or a hum from somewhere in your building. You could EQ the room tone. You could high pass filter out that noise, and now you have this really clean room tone. Now we could take that room tone and paste it over top the entire track using it's actually called Paste Special or Special Paste in Twisted Wave. And you could use Special Paste in Twisted Wave and actually mix that over the entire track. Now you're thinking, well, wait a minute, if I'm mixing the room tone with my voice, now don't you hear room tone over top of the dialogue? Well, yes, that's the answer. Yes, you do. But the thing is, the room tone is always there. When you're speaking or not speaking, it's there. So all we're doing is just remixing room tone back into the track. And as long as that room tone is within a decent range of noise floor, like below minus 50 or so, when you mix it back in over top the dialogue or the monologue, the recording of the voice, it will get completely masked. You will not hear it. You'll only notice it at the moment when the voice ends, or in those areas of silence where you've cut out all the breaths or cut out mouth noises and all that stuff. And so, that's the goal, is simply just to mask all those other noises, or actually, in this case, mask the total silence that was left behind after using a gate, and then replacing it with your room tone. And I've done this technique now on a couple of audiobooks where I've been helping with doing basically cleanup, edit, and as well as mastering, and it's worked exceedingly well. Let me go full screen on Dan so you guys can see a little bit more detail of what he's trying to show you. I don't know how well it's going to translate over our kind of low resolution video feed.
Well, yeah, but you can see what we've done here is you've got multi. This is a multi-track. It only requires 2 tracks.
Right.
So you have your voice track up there, and then you record room tone. And the thing is with room tone, you know, like George was saying, you can just copy it and just keep pasting it. And then you copy that and make it like just double the size every time and make the entire chapter with the exact same room tone.
Right.
And that way it's always there underneath. So so if you go into the other file and you have silence there, and then you go back to the multi-track session, you'll see that the room tone is right underneath it, right there.
It's all about the preparation. As long as you have that room tone sort of prepped beforehand, and then you could just keep that room tone saved as a file. And make that file as long as necessary. It could be, you know, think about it. What's the longest chapter on the book you're working on? I mean, some books I've worked on, there's been 1.5 hour long chapters.
Oh, those are killer.
Oh, yeah. So keep a really long room tone track on file, a WAV file of room tone, 1.5 hour long or so. And that way you can just copy and paste or mix in the amount of room tone you need for the chapter length you're working on at the moment. And presto. I have to give some credit to Corey Snow. He mentioned this technique using Cubase, which I don't recommend anybody use, but that is his weapon of choice. He uses
Unless you're a musician, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Cubase is another multi-track recording DAW. It's another multi-track program. And it is actually pretty good once you can wrap your brain around it. Just like anything else, you have to learn how to use it. But you know, it's pretty powerful. But he taught me in one of the chat rooms or one of the forums, he told me about this technique, and I was kind of blown away when I realized the implications of it and how simple it was going to be to actually make this work. And sure enough, it works fantastically well. So
try it.
Yeah, give it a shot. If you're in doubt, if you're thinking this is impossible, take one of your chapters that maybe has a lot of little breaths and noises that you normally would have to have you know, cleaned up manually. Go in there and use a noise gate very carefully. Just some very basic guidelines. Usually your threshold on the noise gate's going to be like 50 to 45 something, minus 45.
Right.
Ratio about 2 to 2.5 to 1. And you want the attack and the release to be pretty fast. I mean, less than 100 milliseconds. Right. And if it's done right, it can be almost completely seamless. Right.
But your noise floor has to be under about minus 50, minus 49, minus 48 or better. For a noise gate to be effective. There was a question about that in one of the forums this morning, but we'll talk about that later in the show.
Okay, cool.
That'll be an interesting topic of conversation.
Yeah, it's that's the thing, is these noise gates, while they can be really awesome in what they can do, they're really only any good if your noise floor is already under a certain amount. You know, these are not fix-it-alls for severe noise floor problems. So you got to fix that up front.
Absolutely. All right. Well, you know, audiobooks are everything these days.
Sure seems that way.
It seems that way. Now, a lot of people are getting into voiceover from audiobooks, just going into audiobooks and didn't even realize the rest of the stuff was going on.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And then they come to our show and go, gee, you mean I could do this and I could do that? Well, you still have to train for it.
Yeah, it's a whole nother world, though. These two worlds are clashing. They're not clashing, but they're colliding, sometimes clashing.
Just a little bit more clashing than I'd like, actually. But
it happens, yeah.
it does. All right. Well, we got lots more coming up tonight here on East West Audio Body Shop. But wait a second. I have to do this a few times. Okay. How many was that?
I don't know. You totally lost me there, man.
Oh, well, you were busy rambling on there, and I was in the chat room. So I know what that means.
See, the rest of the show, I get to watch the chat room. I'm done. See, that's where I love being the first one. I get it over with. Now I can hang out in the chat room for the rest of the show.
And you've done a magnificent job, and we've explained something people didn't even realize was a concept in home voiceover studios.
Esoteric, but you know, this is what I like to do. I love saving you guys time, especially with these super long format recordings where you're getting paid by the finished hour. Gotta be fast. Gotta be fast.
if you can speed up your time in that's pretty important. All right. Well, we'll be back in just a minute here. We got my tip of the week. We've got announcements. We have Jennifer Smith from voices.com and lots more to come here on East West Audio Body Shop. So all of you stay right where you are, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back to EWABS. We were expecting you, but we still didn't bake a cake. Here's Dan and George.
And we have returned here in East West Audio Body Shop. You know, it's been a couple of weeks since we were on. We did the Google Hangout last week, and that was nice. Except apparently,
just sit back and relax. It's time for some announcements. Just sit back and relax. It's time for some announcements.
all right.
Yes, I would.
See, now that worked well.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to the roundtable thing a lot, actually. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome.
We all have some strong opinions, but we all agree on stuff for the most part. But you're going to get a lot of great information because we're going to have Uncle Roy is going to join us, and Joe Van Ripper, who's some people may not know, but if you read some of the forums, he's always got the right thing to say.
He's MrVO.com.
He is. And Cliff Zellman, who's a producer in Dallas, Texas, who really understands good audio. And then us two idiots. But,
and possibly more. There's a lot of people.
There's a lot of other people that want to get involved in that. But
we don't know when we're doing it, actually. Catherine just chimed in. I think that, our producer, she's like, when are we doing that? That's a good question.
Yeah.
You tell us, Catherine.
She's not reading the memos. All right.
I'm looking for it.
Yes. Okay. So what else we got going on with the announcements?
Well,
we've got
memberships.
EWAB. We actually have a member.
Yay!
Yeah.
First official member.
Yay.
Lee Penny. Lee Penny is our first official member sign up, and we really appreciate that he's chimed in to be supporting the show on a monthly basis. And our latest sucker.
Yes.
There's one born every minute. No, it kind of boils down to less, it's like that whole for less than price of a cup of coffee a day, you can receive support from Dan and George.
Right.
Exactly.
He says he's got at least 10 questions. Good. So he's going to, and I have a feeling he's only going to ask them one at a time, like once a day. And we'll have to chime in on that. But
we will make it worth his while. Thank you, Lee.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the fold, Lee. It's nice to have you on as a member. And you too can be members. It's just $39.95 a month. And you have unlimited email. That doesn't mean like not do your voiceover work and just write us emails.
Exactly.
But if you have questions or on something, Georgia, or a problem, definitely a problem, we usually can solve that.
Yeah, or maybe you want to bounce off a computer or equipment upgrade, or you've got a lot of ideas about how you can do anything, workflow stuff, anything you can think of that we could lend our brains to. We're here to support you. So, in exchange for you supporting us.
Right. Including marital counseling.
Yes.
Because boy, we've learned a lot in the last 80 episodes.
Oh, I won't even.
Don't even go there.
I won't even go there.
Yeah. Of course, my missus has been gone all week.
Oh,
so now I understand why she gets pissed off that the dishes never get done, because I'm the one that's been doing them all week. 2 teenage boys. Well, I don't want to do that.
Of course not, man.
Well, you're not going to live here the rest of your life, so you better learn. Anyway, what else we got going on?
Studio Suit, man. Tell us about Studio Suit. We want to know. We want to know.
This week, I am heading to Chicagoland for a day. And I have a client in Chicago, and he was like, I want Studio Suit in my studio. I'm like, okay. And we started producing it. I found a wonderful place that cuts it and sews it in custom. And what is this stuff? Well, I'll never say what it is. It's my secret, but this particular material is exceedingly absorbent across all audio frequencies. And we found it's an excellent damping tool for home studios. And it's, of course, lining my closet back here. My sound booth here. It does a very good job of keeping out exterior noise. Certainly not soundproof. Nothing is soundproof except other rooms. But I think this stuff is going to revolutionize home studios, and all of you are going to want it.
I think it has very high potential to making a small space sound better, because closets, small spaces tend to be really challenging to get to sound really nice. They always sound a little bit like a box. So this thing really does a fantastic job of correcting that with very little user knowledge. I mean, you just literally you hang this thing up and you're done.
I mean, and it's incredibly versatile. I mean, yeah. I'm thinking you can set it up like a Roman shade, or put it on a roller, or just unhook it, and so you can still use some of the shelves in your closet if you want.
Yeah, it's very cool.
But so I will be documenting all of that, and so you'll be able to see for yourself how amazing it is. Speaking of which,
they were asking me what I was doing last week. Why wasn't I in the chat room? I went to see this stand-up comedian named Rob Delaney, and if you're not familiar with him, he's on Twitter. And if you're looking for somebody funny just to make you chuckle throughout the day, and sometimes occasionally gross you out a little bit, but at Rob Delaney, Delaney, that's how you spell his last name, Rob Delaney. Very funny guy. He's who my wife and I went to see. We took her parents, which was great. Sitting next to, my wife's parents while Rob Delaney tells birthing jokes and poop jokes. It was very fun. It was very uncomfortable and funny at the same time.
You're still in that mode, aren't you?
It was great. Yeah, no, I'd say the average age of the audience in there was probably about 27, maybe 30 years old at the oldest. But
bunch of kids.
Very funny stuff. So that's what we were doing last week.
All right. We're starting to roll on time here. Of course, we'd like to thank our monthly sponsors. Harlan.
Harlan, thank you.
Harlan, thank you.
And thank you, Dan. Thank you for sponsoring the show.
Yeah. And
you're supposed to thank me back.
Oh, and thank you, George.
Oh, you're very welcome. My pleasure.
All right. And we've got lots of other people have been donating, and it's been a big help. You'll notice there are no national commercials tonight.
Finally turn those dang things off.
Kind of off.
Thanks to you guys. Thanks to
you.
Yeah.
Thanks to you.
Yeah, you guys made that happen. Thank you.
All right. Well, it's time now. Oh, of course. And remember, if you have a question, just, for us on the show, you can email us at ewabshop@gmail.com.
And you can still leave a voicemail at 818-47-EWABS. That's 818-473-9227.
All righty. All right. Well, it's time for tip of the week. We're going to talk about mic technique. Roll it.
Here you go.
When painting, you find the subtlety of a painting comes through using good brush technique. Same goes for voiceover. You need to learn good mic technique to bring out the subtleties in your voice. So let's talk about microphone technique. And first we need to talk about the two different types of microphones. The type we usually use, our basic condenser microphone, and then there's the dynamic microphone. So let's look at the different types of delivery we use for those. This, of course, is a dynamic mic. The way it works really is you have to talk very close to it. It's a vocal mic. The problem is that, remember, you're not talking half an inch from somebody's eardrum. You want to be heard the way people normally hear you. This is not designed for voiceover. And this is our good friend, Mr. Studio Condenser Mic. It's the mainstay of our industry, so this is really what you need to learn how to use. Couple of quick tips. 1. Never talk directly into the diaphragm, which is the round thing inside there. Make sure you're talking into the right side of it. Usually, the logo side is where the right side, and that's where the pickup pattern is. These are usually cardioid mics, and we'll explain that in a minute. But you want to have that diaphragm at about eye level. So you're looking right, you can see the diaphragm, but you're not talking into it. So you're talking down here. Best to have it hung upside down. You should be at least 5 to 7 inches away because this is the way people hear you. That's the way a microphone is supposed to be. You look at a lot of pictures of the big stars in Hollywood using condenser microphones, they're not right in front of them. And that's the proper way to use this. If you use it properly, you don't even need a pop screen. Pickup patterns. Okay, this is a one-sided mic. You can't really talk into the other side of it. I mean, what happens is if you talk to the back side of it, it's amazing how many people do this too. It doesn't sound quite the same. People call and say, it's all muffled. Turn the mic around. Talk into the right side of it. But there is what's called a cardioid pattern, like this, from both sides of these things here. And you can talk directly into it, but as you move a little bit off axis, you can hear that it changes the tone. This is me talking from the side of it, and we come back to the front, and then we go back to the other side, and then we talk in the back again. And, of course, you can hear what happens. You want to be able to address it pretty much, straight on. Sometimes people talk about talking off axis, but really, as long as you're angled toward the mic, within this wide pattern here, you should be okay. Proximity effect. Some people use this to try and sound a little bit deeper voiced than they really are. The physics are kind of hard to explain. It has to do with bass frequencies and how they travel through the air. But essentially, the closer you get to a mic, the more easily it will pick up bass tones. So as I get closer to the mic, I haven't changed my volume at all. But you'll notice that my voice is a lot deeper, and as I back off, talking the exact same way, it no longer is as bassy. You can use that for certain effects if you need to, or if you're talking very quietly. But proximity effect is not something you really want to use in your general voice acting type of read, and certainly not if you're doing audiobooks. All right, let's talk about the relative volumes of different types of reads. For example, if you're going to do a car ad or something, you really don't want to have to adjust your level. You don't want to be riding gain on it, as we used to say in the radio business. You want to set it and forget it. So, for example, if you're going to do a loud read, you don't talk directly into the microphone, you back off. So if you're doing a car ad, like say, come on down to Dan Georgia Mitsubishi, we'll be there, that sort of thing. That you don't overmodulate if you back off. You learn eventually what the right distance is, but you don't have to really play with your levels all that much. If you're doing an audiobook, that's when you do the standard distance, and you have your book here or your script right underneath here, and you just read normally, and the way you would hear someone reading a book to you. And that's pretty simple. But you don't want to be playing around with your levels while you're recording. And if you're watching the waveform while you're recording, you're not paying attention to the script. So that might be something you want to think about. So the best thing to do as far as controlling volume is concerned is learn how much your voice is picked up the more you back away and the more you get closer to the mic, but not too close. Although if you're going to whisper, don't get too close because this mic will still pick it up really nice. That's the great thing about a condenser mic. So mic technique has to do with all those things I just mentioned. The pickup pattern, the proximity to the mic, making sure your levels are set right in the first place, and then just forget about your microphone. And like the artiste and his paintbrush, learn to use the proper technique, and you too will paint some very pretty pictures with your voice. And that's my tip of the week.
All right. Let me just make a little quick disclaimer before you go that there was some clicking and popping in that video. That was not the production of the video. That was Ustream misbehaving through the video playback. So we're gonna make sure we share a link to the tip in the show notes so you guys can watch it on without any glitching. So apologies.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, it still sounded okay. The video looked okay, but of course, it was wonderful being in Paris for that too. My wife's like, "What were you doing in Paris?" Anyway, so that's mic technique. Any questions on mic technique, we're always happy to answer those as well. Because mic technique is the most important thing because this is your instrument. I mean, this is your instrument too. And so is this, but this is what picks up your instrument. Mm-hmm. So you need to learn the proper positioning and how to use it properly.
I went to school for music and recording, and I didn't learn some of these techniques for mic positioning for voiceover until only probably 5 or 6 years ago. I mean, it's just a different technique. It's a different discipline. It's a different type of source. It's very different from recording a singing lyric. So these tips are really important because they're not something that are going to be taught in general recording or any kind of regular audio production class. This stuff has to be done right, and when it is, it makes all the difference in the world. It really is incredible how much of a difference it makes.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's see. What do we got coming up here? Oh, we have our Jennifer Smith will be joining us in just a minute here on East West Audio Body Shop. So if you've got questions for her, throw them in the chat room and let our amazing producer, Catherine, know, and we'll get them on and ask her those questions. Anyway, so we'll be right back with her and lots more here on East West Audio Body Shop. So stay right where you are.
VO Studio Tech. Recording made simple.
Hi, I'm Peter McHugh.
This is Jim Tasker from Los Angeles, California.
Hi, this is Bill Ratner in Los Angeles.
Hi, this is Scott Rummel here in Yorba Linda, California.
Hi, my name is Rick Wasserman.
Hi, this is Tom Kane.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Marshall.
Hi, my name is Zurich.
Hi, I'm Mary McKittrick.
Randy Thomas chiming in.
Hi, this is Joe Szymanski.
Hey, this is Rick Robles.
Hi, my name is John Patrick Armstrong.
I was turned on to George by none other than Don LaFontaine, who always swore by his health.
George is absolutely awesome.
ISDN, Source Connect, Phone Patch, FTP, you name it, George has set it up.
It's really the best thing I've ever done for myself. I feel free, safe, fearless, like anything is possible in here.
Unless you like to look for opportunities to waste time, call George.
And he did all of that, long distance over the phone and the internet.
I'm very happy with George, and I cherish him.
Thanks, George. You make it easy.
Et voilà, this is East West Audio Body Shop with Dan Leonard in the East and George Whittam in the West. Merci. Et maintenant, back to the show.
All righty. Merci beaucoup. Anyway, well, speaking of French, we have somebody from Canada, but you're not French. Anyway, joining us from from Windsor, Ontario, for those of you who know Southern Ontario, is Jennifer Smith. And officially, you are the Customer Relations Director over at Voices.com.
I'm actually an account manager, but yes, I handle customer relations.
Okay. Because whenever I have to call over there, it's like, oh, talk to Jennifer. She knows what's going on. So fortunately, I haven't had to do that very much. But welcome to East West Audio Body Shop. We're talking a lot about peer-to-peers this month, so we figured we'd have the other big guys on talking about their particular wares. Because I know a lot of you are members of Voices.com and the other guys. And see, I believe it's important to be out there as much as possible. But Voices.com, we were discussing this before the show. I've actually been there longer than you. Because I think I joined when it was Interactive Voices, which would have been 2004 or so when they started. So what is the history of Voices.com, and how did it get started, and what's going on over there?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on the show. It's
our pleasure.
So Voices.com did start as officially Voices.com back in 2004. Although previous to that, some of you may have known it as InteractiveVoices.com. And David and Stephanie are now husband and wife, but once weren't, obviously. David actually went to school in London at a school called OIART and became an audio engineer.
London, Canada?
Yes.
London, Ontario.
Thank you.
Yes, just to clarify. And Stephanie is a classically trained singer. So
I did not know that.
No. Oh, okay. Yeah. So not only did she do some voiceover work prior to working or starting Voices.com, but she actually sings. So they met because David had his own studio and she needed a demo. So they met because he completed her demo for her. And then it ended up that he was getting requests for voiceover work for telephone systems and thought, well, Stephanie could probably do that for him. So then she started doing some voiceover work for him. And then they started a fairly primitive, like brochure style website. And we're offering voiceover services. Mostly from their studio, and then they started getting talent offering their services from other parts of the world. So they had somebody offering to speak French. Then they had a surfer dude from California. Cool. Then they started getting different requests for different types of voiceover and realized there was a need for the website. And then what they decided to do was to sell all of their audio equipment and get rid of the studio so that they could have the money to purchase the Voices.com domain name. And they're now married and have 4 children, and the company is definitely growing. There's about 27 of us all working in an office together in London, Ontario.
All right. And the rest is history.
Pretty much.
How many members do you have over there now?
So we have a lot of members. There's approximately over 75,000 voice talent as well as clients on the site.
Oh, outstanding. So now peer-to-peers, we've talked about peer-to-peers here on the show before, but it should be a tool in everybody's toolkit to be in one of these places, because you're going to get more auditions doing this, and auditions are important. The only way you're going to get in front of people is if you're auditioning, and but you guys do things a little bit differently. When you get an email from you guys saying, you've been invited to audition this, it's like, okay, I've been invited. I like the private invites a little bit better, but there's just the being invited is nice, and but there's a couple of interesting little quirks about it that make you a little bit different. One is that recently it was changed that you can't put your personal contact information on there, which I understand why. But what was the reasoning behind that? And is that helping things out a little bit? I think it has to do more with SurePay and things like that, right?
Yeah, well, I would be glad to explain. I understand for some people, they might have found it to be inhibiting and maybe, we're a little bit concerned about it at first, but I can definitely explain why we made the decision. Basically, it's because at voices.com, when you complete a job through the site, you actually are able to be paid through our site. So we have an escrow service, like Dan mentioned, called SurePay. And how it works is that every time you audition for a job, you're going to give a quote for how much you want to charge someone. And what we do is when the client decides that they want to hire you for that job, we go ahead and charge them for the amount that you quoted them. Plus, we charge them a 10% fee for using the website. And we hold that money in our escrow service while you do the work. You go ahead and do the work and upload the files to the site for the client to download. They download them and approve them, or sometimes they might ask you for an edit. And once they're okay with the files, then we would pay you either to a PayPal account or by check. And so you can notice after you complete an audition that you'll be able to see what's happening with that audition. You'll be able to see if they're still accepting auditions. You'll be able to see if that person or the job has been awarded to someone, if the person has accepted that job, and then finally, if the person has been paid and that the job has been finished. Now, what we had mostly a lot of beginners being a little bit concerned with the amount of jobs that would just sit there with nothing happening to them. Worried that they were skeptical, worried that, maybe the clients didn't have a genuine interest in hiring someone, just a little bit concerned about whether or not the job was truly a real job, in fact. So one of the things that we wanted to do was to hold people accountable for that and to allow everyone to see the process of what was happening with each job. And the best way for us to be able to do that is to limit the ability for people to contact each other outside of the website until they've been hired for the job. And I just want to clarify that you're more than welcome to share your contact information with the client once they've hired you. And actually, your contact information is readily available to them once you have.
Okay, but you don't, but not on the auditions themselves.
Exactly. But the good thing is that we have an internal messaging system that's extremely easy to use. And it's very easy for the client to contact you and ask you a question.
Excellent. Yeah. And it's a very nice system. It does help a lot. To get successful on a site like that, what really is the secret? I mean, it's important to have a good page on there and all the other things, but you guys do a great job with trying to get people to improve their SEO with their presence on your site, right?
Oh, of course. I know that, most of the people on our website, if you go and do a Google search on their name, their voices.com profile is definitely going to be one of the first things that comes up in a search. And the best way to get the most out of our website is to really take some time to complete your profile really well. Make sure that you have explained everything about you, your voice, and the type of work that you're interested in and what you're good at as well. If you can do a Morgan Freeman impersonation, but you don't have that listed in your profile, then nobody's ever going to find you when it comes to, a keyword search that they're doing for somebody that sounds like Morgan Freeman. The other thing as well is to make sure that you have a good selection and quantity of demos. You definitely want to have shorter, more targeted demos for a website like ours. While having a compilation demo is good when you're, trying to promote yourself to somebody to add you to their list, for example, like an agent. For SEO purposes, you definitely want to give the people what they're looking for. When somebody comes to our site, they have a specific project in mind, and they don't want to listen to your telephone voice and your radio voice before they can hear what you would sound like for a corporate narration. So it's best to make sure that things are very specific.
Mm-hmm. All right. We got a couple of questions here from our amazing audience. Boy, there's a lot of you out there. You'd be amazed. It's not just a web show. It's a phenomenon. Peter asks, how do I submit a supplementary or second audition through the site without sharing information?
So if you were to submit one audition, which is what you're able to do during the audition process, if the client decided that they wanted to ask you a question and they said, okay, I think that your audition was very good, but I actually want to hear you do it a little bit differently and see kind of what that's going to sound like. What they would actually do is then they would go and post a job specifically to you, asking you for a second audition, which we call a private audition.
Right. Exactly. And I get them all the time. We loved your read on that. Well, great. And of course you can send the file right through the system. And generally when that happens, you can use personal contact information at that time, right?
Exactly.
Okay, very good. Okay, this is one, I was going to ask too, but a couple of people were asking about this one. The minimum on this, you have a minimum of $100 on these things. Is there any thought of raising that up a little bit? Are some jobs worth more than $100? But then again, if they're not going to pay that much, why would they even consult with professional voice actors in the first place? But has there been talk about raising the minimum on this?
Well, I have to say that there are some jobs that are still, technically only worth $100 at times when somebody is only being asked for a line or two for some non-broadcast work. There are a lot of people that are willing to complete a job like that for $100. Now, the one thing that you should know is that the jobs that go through the voices.com website do go through a job postings manager. So you'd be surprised how many jobs actually don't make it to the website for you to be able to see. Because,
really?
Yeah, of course, there are people that are going to post a job, for 5,000 words and want somebody to do it for $200. But of course, we need to, kind of rein them back in and let them know that that's definitely not acceptable. So yes, the jobs that go through voices.com are being manually approved by somebody that's ensuring the pricing standards.
Outstanding. Question about union stuff. Is union or non-union an issue with clients? I know it's mentioned, but I rarely see union only in there. It usually says you can be union or non-union, which the union doesn't particularly like. But what kind of things are you getting from the voice from the talent seekers there about that?
Yeah, I have to be honest, there's very little strictly union work posted at voices.com. I would say less than even 3% of the work that's posted strictly for union talent. However, we have had various union talent convert jobs into union jobs where, a job's been posted that has an appropriate budget range that's going to work in terms of the union standards. And so what they'll do is they'll, instead of having us pay the talent directly, they'll have us pay their paymaster so that they're able to kind of work around that.
Okay, great. Let's talk about some of the things that are really exciting over at voices.com right now. One first is the app. So let's talk a little bit about that, and I'll grab it up here on my iPhone right now and see. It's fun to have. I mean, there's obviously it's new technology and stuff, but if you go in here, let's see, voices.com. All right. So if you go into your iPhone, and there's lots of cool stuff on here, but you now have the ability to audition through your iPhone, which to some of us is like, well, that's great that you can. What's been the reaction from the talent seekers about this? I mean, we talk to a lot of people who are voice actors, but what the people who are actually looking for talent, what's been their reaction to this particular system, and how is it working for you?
Yeah, so far we've had nothing but good reactions. The best part about the app, like you said, is that you can actually, record for your audition right from your phone. And you actually don't even need to leave the app to be able to complete the recording. You can look at the script while you're doing the recording and, complete the recording and then send it to the client for your audition. Whereas before the app, you would have had to do the recording and then sometimes send it to your computer and then bring it back to your iPhone to be able to send it. It was just, it could be a lot of work that you didn't really necessarily want to be doing when you're trying to just send something really quick when you're not in your studio.
Right.
So you're able to really just do everything that you can do on the website, but right from your phone. And I have to say, I know I've even heard you guys say this before on your show, that the quality of the recordings from the iPhone is surprisingly very good. You know, depending on the environment that you're in, and depending on if you're using just the microphone or if you're using another microphone with the phone. The clients so far have not given us any complaints about it. The other thing that's good too is that when you're submitting your audition, you can actually write a proposal, kind of like a cover letter. And when you write an email from your phone, you often have a little snippet at the bottom that says, excuse my spelling mistakes, I sent this from my iPhone. So feel free in your proposal to mention, I did complete this on my iPhone, I was away from my home studio. And that way they'll know that that's the reason that maybe there might have been a little bit of background noise.
Right. Yeah. And we, as you were saying, we've just, there are now all sorts of devices for, microphones for iOS devices. And, if you're able to record in a good environment, it should be fine. I think that an iPhone it's just a recording device. It's 90% acoustics.
Right.
Anyway.
Any chances of that migrating now to Android, now that we can actually finally do professional audio quality on Android?
Well, thank you so much for asking, George. I'm glad that you asked because it actually is now available. You can find it in the Google Play Store.
Cool.
We just released that on Friday.
Oh, excellent. Very good,
Outstanding.
Man. You guys are on the ball because it's not easy to develop for the two platforms are totally different and it's a lot of work to develop for both. So I'm proud of you guys for releasing them so close together.
Yes, it's been 8 months since we released the iPhone app, and we do have a mobile web developer that's been working very hard to get the Android app working, and now it's out there and available for free to download and to use.
Excellent.
All right, yeah, and the thing is the Android stuff just came out.
Yeah, I mean, we've been able to record on an Android phone for a while, but to be able to plug a real mic in, like a professional mic, is a very new thing. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that progresses, of course. A couple more, one or two more questions from the chat room. KLG Voice asks, are clients required to pay via SurePay?
So we do ask that the clients pay via SurePay. It is part of our terms of service. Mm-hmm. We do have several options for the client. So a heads up to if you ever have a client.
Oh, hang on a second.
That is concerned.
Jennifer, I'm going to call you right back. I'm going to reconnect.
I can't use my credit card.
Yeah, I'm going to call you right back, Jennifer. Stand by.
Yeah, we still have important stuff to talk about here.
Yeah, it was sometimes just resetting it, bringing the caller back in is, well, just.
Well, she's so far away in Canada. I mean,
she's really close to you.
All right. Well,
that's the irony.
That's true. Up in the Great White North, eh?
Let's try that, Jennifer.
Is that better?
Yes,
yeah, sometimes just resetting the connection clears things up a little bit. Go ahead. Pick up what you were saying for the last 30 seconds or so.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So oh shoot, now I'm sorry, I've lost my train of thought.
That's okay, I understand.
What was the last question?
Well, the last question was, why are clients required to pay via SurePay?
Right.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for the reminder. All right, so yes, the clients are required, and just so that all of the talent know, we do have options for them. So if they're having an issue with paying with their credit card, they can always pay with PayPal, or they even can pay through invoicing. So we do extend credit to clients as well. So if you have a client that says, well, I would like to complete the job through SurePay, however, for some reason their accounting department is only going to allow them to invoice, then that's something that we can help them with. And please feel free to send them to our customer support department for help with that.
Oh, great. Thank you.
That sounds better now. Okay. What were some of the other questions here? You've got a big event coming up that I'm actually going to be attending as well. This is the first time you're doing it. You're doing World Voices up in Toronto on May 4th. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so this is our first time having a conference. It's Voice World Toronto. If you go to voiceworldtoronto.com, you can see more about it. It's actually going to be on May the 4th. It's a one-day conference here in Canada, in Toronto. And we have several great speakers, including Dan, that's going to be at the conference. We actually have Pat Fraley, Ellie Ray Hennessy, Deb Monroe, Jim Van Horn. For those of you that might not be familiar with him, he's a Canadian sports anchor. We also have Dave McCrae. He's a professional voice artist and coach. We also have Sunday Muse, a voiceover actress and coach, and then an audio producer, Wayne Young. So we have a big list of speakers. It's going to be from 8 in the morning until 5:30 in the evening. And the Friday night before, there is also going to be a mixer.
Can't wait. I'm looking forward to that because I'm going to talk about home studio stuff, and it's going to be it's one day, and there's nothing more fun than getting together with a bunch of other voice actors. And I think you're probably going to attract a lot of people who are fairly new to the business, and they're going to find out what fun it is to get together. Like all of our friends in the chat room here, who can't seem to get enough of each other.
I definitely agree. I think it'll be a lot cheaper for them than.
Oh boy, Skype's being a real lot of fun tonight. Dan,
that's on May 4th.
Dan, you crawled to a completely screeching halt there.
Can you still hear me, George?
Yeah, I still hear you fine, Jennifer.
We can hear you, but now I'm
Dan's
I'm
frozen,
not
but I can hear you. I guess it's a sign we should probably wrap this thing up, huh?
Yeah. It's every week. It's Apollo 13.
I tell you, man, Skype is an amazing technology that throws us a curveball every time.
That's true. Anyway, but you can still hear me, though, right?
Yes, I can.
Okay, and Jennifer, we can still hear you, right?
Yes, I think so.
Yes, we can.
I say, well, the audio's okay, so I'll just stare over here like I am, and then we'll just finish this up. And so it's on May 4th.
It is.
And say all of a sudden, and then the audio gets better. Go figure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's it's bandwidth stuff. So on May 4th, and how can people get tickets for this if they want to travel up to Toronto, or perhaps they live in somewhere close by like North Bay, or where's that place that Ellie Ray was hanging out? I can't remember the name of the place. What was it, Pat? He'll tell us. But it's not hard to get to Toronto if you're in Southern Ontario or in Western New York or in Ohio or Detroit or Kalamazoo
or LA.
Or LA.
Toronto is surprisingly close to quite a few of the other border cities, and the best part about it is that because it is only for one day, the price of the conference is very reasonable. Currently, there's early bird pricing. It's $199 right now to purchase a ticket, and you can do that at the website, which is voiceworldtoronto.com, and then that will be available for a little bit more, and then it will actually be changing to $259 for the day.
Outstanding. All right. Well, Jennifer, it's been wonderful having you with us. In and out as it is, but that's the internet. But it's been great having you on, and we got some great questions in there. And of course, if people have more questions like this, they can contact you at voices.com, can they not?
Oh, yes, please do. Feel free to contact me personally if you'd like. My email address is very simple. It's just jennifer@voices.com. And if I'm not the best person to help you, I'll definitely point you in the right direction.
That's two N's, right? Jennifer with two N's? Gotcha. All right. Thank you very, very much for making your time to be on the show with us tonight.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been fun.
I'm unfrozen, finally. All right. Don't ask how we did that. Anyway, Jen, thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you again here on East West Audio Body Shop.
Thank you.
All righty. All right, well, let's go to a break, and we'll be right back here. We still got a couple of things to cover here, so stay right where you are.
VoiceOver Extra, the voiceover industry's online news, education, and resource center 24/7. Hundreds, probably thousands of free how-to articles for voiceover success, ranging from home studio to voice acting to business. A free voiceover industry directory, calendar of industry events, resource links, a store, and much more. Bi-monthly webinars on all topics of voiceover, free subscriptions to newsletters, reports, announcements, daily news, and features at voiceoverextra.com.
And now, back to East West Audio Body Shop, where every week it's Apollo 13.
Wires everywhere here.
What are you doing, man?
Let's fix it somehow. We'll get it working.
I got some super glue and a soldering iron warming up over here to fix Skype.
Oh, good. Yeah. And I have my mini vise.
Perfect.
So we're all set here.
I got some contact cleaner.
And, where's my contact cleaner? It's right down here. Let me spray the lens here a little bit.
No good audio tech is never far away from some contact cleaner.
That's true. All righty. I think we need to brighten things up here a little bit. Okay, that's better. All right, so we're back here on East West Audio Body Shop, having a good time as we always do. And one of the reasons we have a good time is because we have a great sponsor, a wonderful guy who I'm actually, I've known this guy for a couple of years, but I've never actually met him.
Oh, no way.
Face to face. I haven't, but I mean, it's like we know him. He's like a close friend, but I've never actually met him. It's like that guy from Notre Dame. What's his name? But we're not even going to go there. That story was just totally out of whack. But Harlan Hogan owns voiceoveressentials.com. We're actually going to sit down and have coffee this week because I'm going to install a studio suit in Chicago, and he's going to try and get over there, and I'll actually get to talk to him.
Cool.
And hopefully I'll get a word in edgewise. And
Harlan can be verbose.
He can be, but He's got a lot to say.
He does.
So I will listen intensely. And but intensely, because the man knows what he's talking about. And let's look at voiceoveressentials.com. What's he got on sale this week? Oh, this stuff, Entertainer's Secret. Just $9.99. The stuff's really great if your voice is a little bit raw. It's amazing stuff. It's got Slippery Elm in it and a couple of other things, and it works great to relieve your sore throat problems. He's got everything at this site. Everything possible voiceover. I mean, he's got the stuff that he's picked out, and then there's other stuff that. What else do we have here? Let's look.
It's not just high tech stuff. Sometimes it's the little things, But he's got the new Portabooth Plus, which has been available for a little while now, and I actually have one set up right behind me that I was experimenting with. I actually put up a recording sample on my SoundCloud feed. Using the Audio Technica 3035 in the Portabooth Plus, and I was also using that opportunity to demonstrate the fact that you can record into an iPad mini using a USB audio interface, which I did, and the results were surprisingly good. The Portabooth Plus, considering it looks like it's just a box, there's definitely a lot more to it than what meets the eye. And the fact that, right out of the box, it can actually strap onto a mic stand pretty easily. And in conjunction with his ABS strap, which is that fancy little strap he came out with that helps you brace your stand so that it doesn't start sagging. Yeah, it's an amazingly good solution. Something that you can rig up and take down. Let's say you have a home studio that maybe has some degree of spousal approval required. If you know what I mean, it's like you can't just take over the den, or you can't take over the bedroom, or whatever it is, and you have to rig this thing up and down every time. then this could be a pretty good solution for you, because you can set it up and take it down probably in about 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, and use that portabooth in conjunction with a quiet space in your home. Maybe back yourself up to a closet or a drapery in your office or your bedroom, and the audio quality results are quite surprising. So check it out over on my SoundCloud page. You'll hear that's one of the newest clip on there.
Yeah, and I know personally that Harlan has a big announcement regarding the Portabooth Plus, and I think he'll be joining us in just a couple of weeks too to talk about it.
Excellent, yeah, and he's got some other things he wants to share with us too. He's got some other new product that he wants to release to the world, so he'll be coming on the show pretty soon.
Yeah, and we're hoping that we can get Studio Suit on the site there, so it'll be easy for people to get. But that'll be fun too. But great products there. Thanks, Harlan, for sponsoring us here at East West Audio Body Shop. Otherwise, you'd be watching some Kia commercial right now.
Yeah, I'm so glad we were able to clear that up. That it's like you don't realize how disruptive commercials like that are until you think about the fact that we're doing actually a live show. So when Ustream says, "Oh, let's play a commercial right now," because it's been 5 minutes. Yeah, it's right over top of what we're doing, and it's really disruptive. So I'm so glad we were able to get rid of that and get back to the way we like to work, which is, no national commercial spots interrupting the show. And we really appreciate the support of all you guys to make that happen.
Absolutely. So thank you to Harlan Hogan and VoiceOver Essentials. Go over there, voiceoveressentials.com. When he's on, that'll be his commercial that day then.
Yes, exactly.
I think that'll
cover it.
try to keep it to 30 seconds.
Yeah, right. Good luck with that.
That's good luck. That's going to happen. All right. Well, let's move on to some other stuff here. First, thanks again to Jennifer Smith from voices.com. I know she's still in the chat room there and answering a few questions there. So
cool.
And about the voiceover for dummies. I always wonder about that title, but it's a pretty good book about if you're really just starting off in the business. But let's talk about a couple of other things. There was you wanted to talk about the iPad Mini for a little bit.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, like I think I already brought it up once, but I got my wife the iPad Mini, and everybody's talking about tablets. Which one should I get? And I'm not. I love Apple products, but I'm not an Apple fanboy where everything in the house is Apple. I've got a mix of everything. You guys hear me talk about Android all the time, and I've got an Android phone. But when it came to getting a tablet for my wife to use for her day-to-day use, I got her an iPad Mini, and so now I'm getting to experiment with it a little bit. So I bought the Lightning connector. I got the Lightning to USB cable. Not the charger cable that it comes with, but this is the Lightning to USB female cable. I don't have it within arm's reach, but it's similar to the cable I was showing you guys 2 weeks ago for the Android phone. Oh, this is a good time for Firefox to want to install an update. Why, thank you, Firefox.
That's okay.
Yeah, be my guest. Anyway,
it's not affecting you at all. So.
Good. They make a cable that goes from. Let me see if I have it.
Just hold it right up to the camera.
It's not. Hang on. Oh, here it is. Well, I've kind of got it rigged up right now, but it's not looking so hot, so I'm not going to show it on the camera. But a Lightning to USB connector. Okay. So you get one of these. They call it. I think it's the new version. Basically, it's the new version of the camera connection kit. And so now you can plug different things into it. Obviously, we've all known about the Apogee mic, but I was surprised to find out that I could actually plug a USB audio interface into the iPad Mini, and it would actually power it. We've always decided we found that with iPad, it didn't have enough juice to power most USB devices, which is why the Apogee mic had to be made. They needed something that was custom designed to run on bare minimum amount of power, which I think is like 80 milliamps, which is a trickle of electricity. Yeah, so I was surprised when I plugged in this thing. This is just sort of like one of my, it's always in my toolbox type of devices. It's very inexpensive and simple. This happens to be the USB Dual Pre. It's made by ART. Not considered one of the high-end pieces of gear of the world, but I'll tell you, this thing really worked. Well, I was shocked when I plugged it into the iPad mini and it immediately lit up. So it's getting power right off the iPad mini. I would imagine it would probably work with the newer iPad 3 or whatever they call it, the new iPad Retina or the iPad, whatever the heck it's called, the newest.
It's the iPad 3 or just the new iPad.
Yeah, the new iPad. I would imagine it probably would work with it as well because it also has the Lightning connector. But plug and play worked immediately. I recorded some audio into Twisted Wave, did some editing to it, polishing, moved some stuff around, a little bit of finalizing, and then I uploaded it to SoundCloud. Actually, I put it on Dropbox and then I put it on SoundCloud so I could have it in both places. And I was quite impressed, really surprised at how good something so relatively cheap, $80 for this thing, could actually sound with a good mic. And I was using that Audio-Technica 3035. Again,
which is a great mic.
It's a good mic. It's a good, cheap mic. And, the results were, well, they speak for themselves. So anyway, big surprise. I can't tell you guys, I don't have a clue what other devices will work with the iPad mini right now. But I'm guessing if this one does, then a lot of others probably will too.
Yeah. There's a lot of things catching up with Ep.80 on this. We now know that that Focusrite has the eye track.
Yeah, the eye track,
which you can use any type of mic on.
But there's one little thing about the eye track is it still needs another power source. So it plugs into it plugs into the iPad jack or dock connector.
Right.
But it still needs a secondary USB power source to run, which is interesting.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I know. It's weird. If you look at it, it looks like it should just plug and play, but when you actually read the specifications, it says, well, you have to use the USB connector also with some sort of USB power supply. I think what they do is they take the little charger dongle doohickey, that comes with an iPad, plug that in the wall, then plug this thing into it. But you still got to plug it into something, right? Or some kind of a USB battery pack.
Right.
But this thing actually has a battery inside as well.
Cool.
So if you're confused as to whether I was using the battery or not, I was not actually using the battery. I actually you have to push this button to turn on the battery that's inside the unit. And even with it off, the battery off, it still runs with the iPad mini. So pretty nifty stuff.
Indeed.
I'm excited about getting to know the iPad more and understanding what you can and can't do with it. I find that one of the things that drives people a little bit crazy is it's called sandboxing. Okay, and this is the whole reason why Voices.com decided to release an app in the first place. Is if you want to record something, say in Twisted Wave, but then upload it to another thing like Voices.com,
can't do it.
Well, right, Twisted Wave would have to decide. It's in their best interest to add the Voices.com thing into their software. It has to be pushed from one thing to another. It can't be pulled from somewhere else, right? So, that was why they came out with their own app. But, so I'm finding out what are the limitations. What are the limitations when it comes to reading scripts? Some people use Google Docs or G Drive for archiving and reading their scripts. Is it easy to get it from your email, your Gmail into your Google Drive and then on your iPad, all these kind of things. So I'm going to be experimenting with it a lot over the next couple of weeks and coming up with all the kind of workflows that I can come up with that make it really easy to use. And, if there's something that doesn't do well, I'll be honest and say, look, this is not something I would attempt. I could actually manage to do some pretty precise editing with Twisted Wave on the iPad. In fact, when there's a cut,
easy to do.
Yeah. Even when you make cuts, it must be doing that automatically extend selection to zero crossing thing, because all of my edits were seamless. There was no clicking or anything. So I don't know if he's doing a crossfade or what, but I was pretty amazed at how well it actually worked. It's still not a substitute for a real laptop, and a full operating system where you can move anything to anything. But it's getting there. It's getting there. And for the price, $350 and for the base iPad mini, it's one really cool computer. It's one really cool device.
It is a computer.
It is a computer, yeah.
I think I'll run out and get one tomorrow. We already have two iPads in the house already.
Do you ever use the air sharing thing where you can take the screen that you see on your iPad and have it show up on another TV?
I tried that once, and it just made everything locked up. And I went, I am not going to use this anymore.
Well, I figured out an app for the iMac, or basically for your Mac. It's called Air Server.
Oh, and that's different.
Yeah, so if you have a Mac hooked to your TV, in my case, our Mac is our TV. We have an iMac 24-inch in the living room on Amy's desk, and we just turn it sideways. We are definitely the cord cutters. So anyway, but this thing really does work, and we have a second display hooked up to it on top of the entertainment center, like a 30-inch TV. And I can just say, oh, let's put whatever's on the iPad right now on that TV. I turn on the iPad sharing to the computer, and boom, not only is the sound there, but the picture's there. It is so cool. I mean, I'm jonesing about that thing. I think it's the coolest thing ever. Oh, somebody said, when you add the interface, does it need drivers? No, the thing is there is no audio drivers for iPad. Basically, either it works or it doesn't. Yeah. And so I don't know if a day will ever come. I think that's one part of Apple's sort of ethos or whatever when it comes to designing the iOS and the iPad is they never wanted you to ever have to use a driver. You know, if it's not already baked into the system, they're not going to support it. So that makes it easier to use, easier to set up, and, you know, in some ways maybe more limited than, say, Android, for example. But even in the Android world, too, there's no drivers. Either it works or it doesn't. So when it comes to what USB devices will work, it's definitely going to be experimental, or an experimentation thing, or doing a little Google search and see iPad and this, iPad and that, and seeing who has figured what combination will work.
Right.
But
are we
cool.
going to stick to our prediction that within 2 years everything's going to be done on tablets? I mean, now with the Surface and all this other stuff, I think it's inevitable. But people still want to have, you know, a keyboard, and they want to have that other stuff. But
well, you can use a keyboard with the iPad. But yeah,
that's why I got this. It's a Bluetooth keyboard.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? It's going to come down to the software developers and the key developers that are making, you know, very, very niche products like Source Connect. Or SoundStreak, or any of these newer methods of sending audio between studios and stuff.
Point A and point B. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be come down to whether they decide to pick up and go with these new technologies. I think they're going to be the holdouts. You know, they're going to ones that are going to take the longest to support it, because they're such niche. It's such a niche product that they're making, and it's very expensive to develop and debug it. So, you know, someday, but it might be a while. I think we'll be able to do almost everything, but there's always going to be a couple little things that just don't quite work on an iPad or Android device yet, you know?
Right. But as long as you can transfer it from your iPad or your iPhone back to your laptop or your main computer, you should be able to do those sorts of things.
Well, I've been telling people that, you know, nowadays there's a lot of people that are PC users that actually have an iPad.
Right.
You know, they love Windows, or they're used to Windows. They don't want to get an Apple computer. They don't want to make the expense, make that expenditure, but they are comfortable with their iPad. They love the iPad, and now they need a way to record without noise, because a lot of PCs, especially older towers and stuff, are really noisy. So I've been telling people, well, you know, record to your iPad. Start Twisted Wave up, hit record, take it into your closet, your walk-in closet, whatever. You know, read your script off there, record away. You can multitask really easily. You know, the 4-finger swipe between applications thing is really cool. Pinching and all that stuff. You can swipe to Twisted Wave, hit record, swipe back, read your script. When you're done, swipe back over, hit stop, and then you can use Dropbox on there, which I think is the coolest thing ever.
Absolutely.
Have it pop up on the cloud, and by the time you've sat down at your computer, chances are it's already made its way from the iPad to your Dropbox on your desktop computer, and you can finish the job.
Yeah. I think one of these days, one of these weeks, I'm actually going to do an entire tip of the week on an iPad.
Yeah, why not?
And send it directly from the iPad into Dropbox and see how that works. Obviously, it won't be an H.264, so it won't jump on us, but that's a whole other deal. Anyway, iPad. I will probably still be talking more about it, because there's a lot of products
coming going anywhere.
It's not going anywhere.
I'm going to NAMM show next week.
Lucky
I'm
you.
actually really excited. It's Thursday through Sunday, but I'm going to go on, I think, Friday and Saturday. Saturday is the bonkers crazy day, actually. Everybody's there. I think they start letting in the the unwashed masses on Saturday. It turns into a freak show. But I'm going to go there on Friday and Saturday, and I'm going to do the interviews and the product interviews and talk to the people at the cool booths like I have the last few years. My rig this year is going to be my Samsung Galaxy S3, and I got a little bracket that mounts it onto a tripod, and I'm going to have my little shoulder rig that I used in the past. And then for audio, they were selling these on, they were selling these on BSW. This is the Tascam DR40, and they're selling like refurbs or display B stocks for $140. So I grabbed one of these because I wanted to, just in case audio doesn't get to this thing, which occasionally happened to me last year, and it was really embarrassing because I'd have whole interviews with no audio. I'll have a backup. So I'll be doing it more like people do that do, shooting for film that use DSLR cameras and stuff. Right. This will be my my second system recorder. So if I lose audio on this for some reason, I'll have it on this. But the plan is to record these two mics, the stereo mics, in 2 tracks for the ambience of the show, and then I'll have a handheld. I'll have
just adding some background noise.
Yeah, and I'll have an handheld mic plugged into one of these jacks for the interview, because this thing can do 4 tracks. So I'm geeking out on this stuff, but it should be a lot of fun, and I should have a lot of really cool coverage from the event. And anything you guys want to get a little, learn more about, anything you want to make sure I don't miss at the show, please do email us at ewabshop@gmail.com. And
you can post all the video on our website too.
Yeah, the plan is to post. In the years past, I haven't managed to get it all up online. This year, I really have full intentions of getting all of the interviews online, feature a couple on the show, and then putting them all up on the EWABS YouTube account so you guys can check them out. And that's it. I'm psyched because I've heard so much about CES and all these other shows already this year, and now it's finally my chance to go to see one.
All right. Very good. All right. Just a few minutes left here. One thing I wanted to bring up. There was a question that came up on one of the forums, and I know I should just stay away from them. Just like, but this one caught my eye because someone was asked a question about buzzing and interference on their rig. And what do you do about it? Well, one of these guys started to go on like 3 paragraphs about ground loops and all this kind of stuff when in reality, 90% of the time we have found that the real problem is usually a frayed connection in your in your mic cable somewhere. It's, the braiding goes bad, one of the solders in the connection goes bad. And when that happens, when your grounding goes bad, and I'm really learning this as I'm working with antique mics because grounding is a real issue with those. That even if you get a slight desoldering in the ground connection in your XLR cable, you're going to start getting interference from places. And if you buy a new set of cables or install it, that does miracles for curing this stuff. Or you can go through the 3 paragraphs that this one guy was talking about and get an external power supply. Oh, and he was talking about if you run it through a mixer, that will help too. So I saw that and I'm like, okay, I got to chime in on this one. This is, change your, always, what you might want to do is have like a couple of extra pair of XLR cables. And if you start noticing that kind of stuff, swap out cables. I'm not going to guarantee it's going to fix it, but you're going to go, most of the time when you realize that's really the problem.
Cheap, easy fix.
Absolutely. All righty. That enough for tonight? It's never enough, is it, guys?
I think we got it covered. I think we
do. Who's our guest next week? Catherine?
She's probably told us by now.
I'm sure she is. We're doing a hangout next week?
Is next week the hangout already? Jeez.
We did a hangout last week, but that's because you weren't here.
Yeah. Well, usually the last Sunday of the show is a hangout, but we did a hangout already this last Sunday of the month. But we did a hangout this month already, so we plan on getting more good guests for you guys and keeping up the level. We're looking at possibly Trish and Terry Terry Daniel.
Yeah. Trish, you still in there?
Trish is in the chat room. So,
are you coming?
Are you coming?
Give us a date.
She's like, yeah. Me, really? Did I say yes? She's saying yes. She's saying yes. So I think it may be Trish and Terry next week, which will be awesome because they'll talk about their show, and they're a lot of fun and very smart.
Voiceover Cafe, yeah.
Voiceover Cafe.
Right. Yeah, Terry is a real whiz when it comes to social networking and voiceover and stuff, and Trish is purple.
And the February 3rd, I think we're gonna. Did we decide? Are we gonna preempt it for the Super Bowl?
I think we decided we're gonna go dark for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. The Super Bowl starts like 6:25, is it not usually?
Yeah, it's right.
It's going to go till 10 o'clock. So
it's right smack in the middle of the show, and everybody and his mother's watching it. I mean, everybody wants to see the commercials, and
right.
You know,
maybe Rob Siglan-Peggley will be in another commercial this year.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything, but we're still talking about his commercial from last year.
I know. I think he's doing a movie right now, but and he's a lawyer. And he's a breath mint. It's amazing.
He's a busy dude.
busy guy. So anyway, next week, hopefully Trish and Terry will be with us and talk about Voiceover Cafe. And then you and I have to be on Voiceover Cafe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we gotta ping pong that.
That's right. Easy enough to do. Pong it. All right, whatever. All right. Well, we've got lots of people to thank tonight. Of course, our wonderful producer, Catherine Curridin. See, I got it right this time.
You got it, buddy.
All right. And, of course, Jason Lawson for doing the show notes for us. And, of course, our wonderful spouses, even though my spouse is, 1,500 miles from here and soaking up the sun down in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
But she'll be back tomorrow, and I miss you. It's bad. I don't sleep well when she's not here. It's very, I'm sure those of you who are married understand what I mean. It's like
your other half.
It's the other half of you, and it's like, so I've got the dog sleeping with me, and they're like, oh, we're taking mom's spot. They're heading over there.
And thanks to John Florian of VoiceOver Extra for his promotional consideration as well. He make sure that everybody keeps tuned in to what we're up to over on his website, voiceoverextra.com. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, John.
And make sure
and we got a big thing coming up with John in September, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a virtual voiceover conference, which we've been talking about, but we'll have more about that. We'll have him on talking about it when that gets more solidified. We're learning how to do it. It's going to be, they say there's too many conferences. I think a virtual conference might be the perfect thing for some people who don't want to travel and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And of course, we want to thank, who else do we have? We have, of course, Harlan and
thank Elizabeth and thank our audio bumper people.
Oh, absolutely. Liz and Larry. And everybody else. But most important, we want to thank you because you guys keep showing up every week for some reason. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but you keep showing up. You want to be at the party, so we might as well have you here. And we're glad that you show up. We're glad that you like to hear us talk shop, and we like to talk to you. And that's why we're here. And if you have questions, again, write us at ewabshop@gmail.com. And of course, if you'd like unlimited support from us, unlimited email, just you can become a member of EWABS membership, and you can get us anytime you want, like Lee Penny does.
Mm-hmm, that's right. And also, we are all the videos end up on YouTube. Most of you are probably watching it there, but if you're not, remember you can always review the show on youtube.com. Please do subscribe so that you can always be abreast to the latest releases on there. Sometimes we have extra content that's not the regular show. Maybe we'll repost a bit or a tip of the week or something. And we're also, believe it or not, we actually are on Twitter also. I try to repost everything we do on Twitter for you Twitter fanatics. And so we are EWABS_show over there at Twitter.
And write that down.
EWABS_show.
Okay.
I'm on Twitter quite a bit these days, actually. Of course, we're on Facebook. Please like us.
Noticed that.
Yeah, please like us at Facebook. Please. And I think we're on Google. Well, I know we're on Google Plus, and we're going to be making more and more good use out of the Google Plus environment because it really is, especially the Hangout thing, is pretty cool. So we'll be doing that more and more.
Absolutely. You know, I think we should, you know, if we don't do a hangout, perhaps we should just have an open line show some night. We haven't done a lot of people calling in.
The live call-in thing? Yeah.
We haven't done that in over a year. I mean, that would be fun. But now that we have a lot more people watching, perhaps people want to call in and say, I have a problem with my studio. And then we can go back to our Tom and Ray routine and have some fun with that.
Yeah.
Because that was how we started.
That's how we started. Those are roots. Yeah. Click and clack. All right. We did the click and clack thing.
That's right. All righty. Well, that's going to finish things up for tonight. And thanks for being with us tonight. And again, thanks to Jennifer Smith from voices.com. And we'll be back next week, same time, same bat station. I'm Dan Leonard in the East.
And I'm George Whittam in the West.
And together we are East-West Audio Body Shop. Have yourselves a great week, everybody. Practice your craft. We'll see you next time.
Stay warm or cool, depending on where you are.